Hi there, Logic Language learners. I hope you're really well. So today's video is filmed from at my grandma's house because unfortunately she's not very well. So I'll just leave them to it for a little bit. And I'll just go for a little walk, and we're going to answer a very, very, very interesting question from Sonja. Sonja Weeks is one of my Down Under crew. So to remind you that this weekend I will be doing a class, all being well, for the Aussies. I just need to let you guys know. So guys, if you sometimes email me, I've had a couple of people who then use the YouTube to remind me going, I emailed you. And I'm like any business, I have to deal with things in order. I'm sorry, I do get a lot of emails. And I will get to you as soon as possible, especially at the moment it's just a bit difficult. Look at the rhododendrons. Regarde les rhodos. And there's the drive. So, right, I've had to write out Sonja's question because otherwise, because I can't check I haven't got my laptop with me. So let's just cross the road and not hopefully get killed. So 1 second, here's a car, and then we can get round to Sonja's question. So this is slightly reminiscent of our fitness videos from earlier in the year. Right, off we go. So Sonja says, hi Luke, love the videos and all of that kind of business, and thank you Sonja, I really, really appreciate it. So Sonja writes, that there's something about the subjunctive she doesn't understand and she wants a bit of a clear up. Okay? So, the examples that she's given are, it is weird that Luke is absent, and it is fantastic that he came. It is fantastic that he came. Okay, so she says, to my mind, Luke, both parts of each sentence are positive. Although in the first part of both sentences, there is emotion. So I'll write these examples underneath. Does it matter if uncertainty is in the first part of each sentence? So I'll say the sentences again. It is weird that Luke is absent, and it is fantastic that he came. So she basically doesn't understand why there's subjunctive going on in that. So let me talk about it. It is weird and it is fantastic, Sonja, are what we would call impersonal and neutral expressions. So what this means is it's an expression beginning with an it's or an it is, followed by an adjective, followed by a que. So namely, c'est or il est, followed by an adjective. I'll say that again. If you said Luke speaks, Luke parle, Luke's doing the verb. If you said, the house is doing the verb. If you said the dog is doing the verb. If you say it is weird that Luke is absent, although it isn't specifically referring to anything, it's just referring to the notion. So this is what we call a neutral or an impersonal statement. It's or it is. Now, when we do our little sing-song about what creates the subjunctive, we say want, need, doubt, fear, impersonal, emotional. So the bottom two are ulls. In some videos, I call it neutral and emotional. So what this means is any statement that involves a neutral. Look at the ferns, aren't the ferns lovely? Les fougères. Any statement, and you can see the lambs. Any statement at all that is impersonal, that isn't neutral, is going to give you the subjunctive after the que. Unless there is absolute certainty. Actually, no, 75%, so probability also gets you there as well. So, for example, it's interesting that Luke is my teacher. C'est intéressant que Luc soit, subjunctive. It's great that Luke's my teacher. C'est fantastique, or il est fantastique, both would work. Que Luc soit mon professeur. It's certain that Luke is my teacher. C'est certain que Luc est mon professeur. So in other words, pretty much most statements beginning with it is or it's that are normally opinion. So people say these silly things like, opinion is the subjunctive. I think that you guys are intelligent. Je pense que vous êtes intelligent. that's an opinion, that's not subjunctive. So there's all these sort of silly ideas floating around. So in other words, it's because there's a neutral or an impersonal statement in the first half that isn't referring to probability or certainty. So that's the idea that you've sort of got. But they're few and far between, things that are so sufficiently certain that it will, that it would stop it being subjunctive. Most things are. Most opinion style, it's great, it's weird, it's interesting, it's curious. These are going to give you the subjunctive. Not because of how certain or uncertain it is. I don't want you to think like that. I want you to think de facto, automatically, and impersonal is going to be subjunctive unless we've got really strong certainty in the first, or very strong probability in the first half. So that's the first point. Okay. So you've said, in my mind, to my mind, both parts of each sentence are positive. So it's not whether or not something's happening. That's another thing that people always get wrong. So it's kind of like, I want you to come. People always go, oh, that's subjunctive because you might not be coming right now. If somebody were walking with me right now and they said, Luke, are you sure it's okay me accompanying you on your walk? And I say, yeah, I want you to come. They've already come with me. There's no debate about whether they're coming. It's about the fact that the sentence is being used to not indicate. That's the opposite of the subjunctive. An indicative is indicating. And an indicative sentence is saying, you're coming with me. That it's been used to tell the audience that information. So if you said, oh, it's great that you're coming, it's because that sentence is not being used to give the information of the fact that you're coming. It's been used to give the information about the fact that it's great that you're coming. We're going to go and spy on some horses that I'm planning on riding without the person knowing. No, I'm joking. I'm going to try and tell them. Apparently there's a big girl who doesn't sort of ride anymore. Got quite big. So I'm going to go and check them out. Lovely. Does it matter if uncertainty is in the first part of each sentence? I've talked about that. It's don't assess them about the uncertainty. It's whether or not they're the neutral or the imperfect. So in terms of, to my mind, both parts of each sentence are positive. So both parts, what you mean is the part before the que and the part after the que. The thing on the left, the first clause, some people say dominant clause and subordinate clause. The verb on a subjunctive pattern is thing or verb number one. Thing or person number one, verb number one, que, thing or person number two, verb number two. And the subjunctive, for 95% of cases, there are a few expressions that, you will just bypass the first one. 90% of the time, 95% of the time even, the subjunctive is obviously going to be in the second half, and it's depending on what's going on in the first half. In other words, it's what's going on the left, Sonja, that's going to make something happen on the right. So you don't actually need to care what's going on the right. You don't need to care at all. It's about what's going on before the que. So, for example, it is weird that Luke is absent. It's just an impersonal sentence then. There's an it is. So, il est bizarre or c'est bizarre que Luc soit absent. C'est bizarre que Luc soit absent. It's fantastic that he came. Now, a lot of people go, oh, it's emotion. It's fantastic. It feels like emotion. Strictly speaking, yes, but it's about the fact that it's impersonal. Now, it sometimes will double up. So if you say, it's wonderful, that Luke is my teacher. Yes, you might feel wonderful is an emotion, but it's also about the fact that it's an impersonal expression. But really, what you're going to develop the knack for is just feeling it's not me reporting on the fact that Luke is my teacher. Here is a sentence reporting, Sonja, on the fact that Luke is my teacher. Luc est mon professeur. Luke is my teacher. That sentence is being used to indicate the fact that Luke is my teacher. It's wonderful that Luke is my teacher isn't being used to indicate that Luke is my teacher. It's being used to say it's wonderful that Luke is my teacher. So these ideas kind of come together. You can only carry so many of them around with you in your head. Basically, what am I saying? Impersonal expressions, Sonja, c'est or il est, followed by followed by a verb. Followed by an adjective which isn't certain, sûr, probable even. Notice possible will give me subjunctive, but probable will give me indicative. That will do it. So as far as I'm concerned, just get into the habit of knowing whatever you say is going to be, if you say it's or it is, more than likely it's going to be the subjunctive. Final note, this could go into the past tense with this model. This model in particular of all the subjunctive sort of setups will often go into the past tense. So for example, if you said he came, il est venu, yeah, il est venu, the example that you've given me, so it's fantastic that he came, c'est fantastique qu'il soit venu, as you say yourself. People panic and go, oh, the past subjunctive, it's the subjunctive in a different tense. The subjunctive in a different tense actually formally no longer exists in French. That used to be the imperfect, like parlas and all of this business, which no longer exists. Very similar, any of you that speak Italian, like parlasi, parlasi, parlasse. It doesn't exist anymore. We actually have that tense in English. We don't have it in French anymore. Have any of you noticed you say I was happy, or if I were happy? We change now. I've found some horse manure on the ground. Now, in my sneaky little brain, that means keep going. I'm going to find the little sods and I'm going to ride them. So in other words, if you've got, it's fantastic that he came, it's fantastic that he has eaten, very commonly when you're giving these opinions, Sonja, the word that comes, the second sentence, in other words, the clause, after the que, is going to be referring to the past. But although that sounds like it's in the past, what tense do we use when we go into the basic past? Luc a mangé, Luc has eaten. Luc est venu, Luc came. We're actually just using the present tense to form the past tense, aren't we? The auxiliaries, the verb in the middle, is in the present tense. This is why in English it's often known as the present perfect. But we don't care about that. We don't care about that. So, for example, it's great Luc is coming. C'est fantastique que Luc vienne, subjunctive. It's fantastic that Luc came. C'est fantastique que Luc soit venu. Yeah, good. So if you don't understand any of this at all and you're thinking, what does Sonja's question even refer to? Try on a PC typing subjunctive into my homepage, and all of the videos are going to talk about this. Or can I remind you that you could absolutely just contact me and I will send you the grammar podcast, which at the moment is still on half price, and they will give you all the information that you need in a 4 minutes of explanation per topic, 4 minutes of examples, and that's a lot more concise. So I hope this has been useful, Sonja. Do please let me know if this has solved your query. I do like a question, but guys, like I said, I've got loads and loads of emails and I'm working through them gradually. There's only so much time, and as you can see, I've got a bit of a family situation going on at the moment. All right, lots and lots of love. Speak to you soon. Take care.